Hello and welcome to Making Clothes in Blender number 3. Yay! I think that this will be a short one. I mean, I think that we are like 1 hour away from it. And as you see, making clothes, especially if they are not super complicated, it's quite fast actually. You, the real work without explanations I took for these were like, I don't know, 1 hour and a half, maybe. By the way, it's Saturday morning, and therefore I have a lot of noise, background noise. So I hope my microphone will filter that out. But in the case you hear some noises, I'm very sorry in advance. Well, what have we done so far? Um, we used the avatar workbench. Okay, made by Cinematrix, links in the description. We use the 263. Why? Well, because then we have a roof, right? So in the first class, we made 2D using just a plane in mesh to make a silhouette of a t-shirt which in front of the avatar would look a little bit too big. But that's okay because then, using a technique, we used segments to clone another. We cloned another plane with the t-shirt silhouette, and we use segments to use it as springs. So the t-shirt initially went around the avatar pretty well, actually. And therefore we have a 3D t-shirt on our roof. In the second class, we use a modifier, shrink wrap, to make the fit better around the avatar, and then we started to manually move around vertices in order to make it more natural, the fall of the t-shirt, right? So right now what we have is a really normal t-shirt looking on the avatar. This class we will start to do the texturizing, and for that first we need to add some wrinkles. Now the thing is, any cloth, it's basically a tube around your avatar or around you in real life. I mean, it's a tube, okay? And that means that if you don't add more detail than that, it won't look very nice. It's the difference between, I don't know, the old 2006 t-shirts in Second Life where you had just a drawing on the chest, and the modern ones where you have a lot of detail and shadows on the wrinkles and things like that, that makes it more natural, more real. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not good at that. I mean, I have tried to do real good shading on the t-shirt, and takes me exactly the same amount of time than do another technique I will show you today on Blender, and make Blender do it by itself. The advantage of the technique I will make in Blender is that you don't have to deal with seams, whereas in Photoshop or GIMP you will have to match the seams manually, which is not very good. Not for me, at least. If you are a super duper um, wizard on Photoshop, you may have no problem with that, but that's not my case. So, t-shirt. Last class, we arrive to this point. We have the t-shirt, which is look pretty decent. We have a little flap that goes inside the avatar in all the openings in order to make it solid, right? Uh, I told you last class that make a real two faces, it's crazy. And I don't know if I told you. No, I don't remember, but let me tell you. Um, right now, this has 8,354 faces and 4,000 vertices. Okay, it's a little bit on the heavy side. However, if I do a duplicate of this in order to make it two-sided for real, I will at least double the amount of faces, right? Oh, I'm sorry. 1,168. I guess that the 8,000 is counting the avatar also. So yeah, 1,000. Now I like it very much. Okay, just for a quick reference for you, there is a modifier called Solidify that what it does is create a two faces thing from one face. Okay, um, let me show you. I will add the Solidify, and effectively now I have two faces on both. It has two sides, see? It creates another face inside. It goes kind of weird on this part, which is logical because it doesn't know how to handle it, but it does a very good job on other kind of surfaces. Now, if I apply this, suddenly I jumped to 2,432. Okay, and before I just press Ctrl Z, it's 1,168. So yeah, at least you double the amount of geometry plus all the faces in the borders. Not good, not good at all. Okay, so that's the reason of these flaps. So we have our t-shirt, we have a roof, and I insist I doing on a roof because it's easier later to adapt your t-shirt to your own avatar or do measurements once it's rigged and once it's texturized and everything else. So yeah, last class I told you that we could, for example, go ahead and subdivide this t-shirt, subdivide one, subdivide twice. And I have a lot. I will do it on a duplicate, but let me get this out of the way first, and have a very high poly model to after that sculpt around and create the shadows. Now the problem with that is, as you see, it tends to subdivide following the normal direction of the original faces, which means it have this strange square effect that I don't like it actually. I don't like it at all. So what can we do? Well, let me go back with Ctrl Z. We can add a modifier. But you know what? I will duplicate this first, Shift D. I will move it to the second layer. And now we are in layer number 2. Why? Well, because I don't want to modify the original one. I want to modify a copy. We will use this copy in order to make whatever we want um, with wrinkles, and doesn't and that won't affect the original model. Okay, don't hesitate to duplicate things, move them around in another layers and work with that, especially if you have to export or if the result of your work will be a texture. Okay, just keep the original safe and just go ahead and do that. You know what? I don't remember if we made the UV mapping for this. Oh yeah, we did. Awesome. Why this is important? Well, if I didn't do a UV map of my t-shirt before this step, then it's important to do it now. Why? Well, because after that I will modify my geometry. Okay, I will add faces. And when I add faces, unless I have already deployed the UV map, it will be very hard, if not impossible, to do two matching UV maps, one for the modified shirt and one for the original shirt. And why that's important? Because we will use the modified t-shirt with more geometry, the map of it, we will apply it to the original one. Okay? So the UV maps has to be exactly the same. Um, let's go to properties. Okay, so subdivide this won't be a good idea for the reasons you just saw. What can we do? Well, add another modifier called Subdivision Surface. Now, the subdivision surface, what it does is create a dynamic subdivision of the faces, okay, creating a really smooth result, as you see. If we go into wireframe mode, you can see a lot of, oh, there's a problem here. We have two faces. Okay, you know what? Let me reopen the file because um, there we go. Because the other modifier, the Solidify, went there and didn't went away. So let me start the screencast again. Duplicate this. Enter M2, and then go to number 2, the layer number 2. Okay, we are back where we were before. Subdivision surface. What it does is create a dynamic subdivision of your model. See, if you add more numbers here, you create a very high poly of your model with the difference that it applies some calculations to make the model smooth. So it won't just duplicate the amount of faces in the same space and the same direction of the normals of the original face, which as a result we have a very soft model that won't follow the original faces and won't look square. Okay, that's the idea. However, the original model is still there. If I press tab and enter edit mode, I see the original faces, right? So in order to make this subdivision real and work with that, I have to apply my modifier. I actually don't like the subdivision surface modifier at all. Why not? Well, because yes, it does show, it does make the model super smooth. However, it multiplies the geometry like crazy. For each number you add here, you basically duplicate every single face of the model, which means that it could go really really fast. In fact, if you add, I don't know, if I type 10 here, probably I will crash my computer or make it super slow. Why? Well, because it suddenly has to deal with tons of geometry it didn't have to deal before. And if that makes Blender slow, imagine what will happen in world when you have to render that monstrosity in real time. Yes. So I use Subsurf for things like this, where I won't export the result of the subdivision elsewhere but as a texture. Okay, okay. Preaching is over. Let me show you. Yes, we have a crazy amount of resolution. However, it respects the layout of the original t-shirt. Let me show you. This is the original t-shirt. See? I have a layout of my UV map, and on the other model we have the same layout, which means that whatever change we do here, it will be it will result like a useful map for the original t-shirt. That's the reason why we have to UV it first and then do this. So yeah, subdivision, not a good idea. Subdivision surface as a modifier, yep, that's the way to go. And then apply. Well, so what we have done a really stupidly high poly model of our t-shirt. And why do we need such high poly model? Well, because now we will maximize this and enter in Sculpt Mode. Okay? Sculpt Mode, what it does is exactly what it says. It moves around the geometry according to your brush, okay, and helps you to quickly do certain things. I found smooth very useful for neater things like making rocks and things like that. So what's next? Well, next, this is a suggestion I give you. I will go ahead and look for t-shirt on woman on the secondary monitor. Okay, so t-shirt for on woman. This was my search chain here, and I will use this as reference to know where my wrinkles should go, right? Let's go here, for example. We have a nice contrast here. We have more wrinkles on the base, a little bit wrinkles below the breasts, and it's pretty smooth here. See? Observe real life and try to imitate that using Blender. Especially with the Sculpt program, is easier that way. Here's another one. Check this out, how it wrinkles around the sleeves. Okay, this is what we will have to try to emulate here. Of course, the more wrinkled it is, the more soft the fabric will look, the more straight the t-shirt it is without wrinkles. Well, then it looks like either too tight, which is not my intention to do this time, or the fabric too unflexible like leather, right? Check this out. Nice wrinkles. Okay, so yeah, only in Blender you see a picture of a beautiful girl and say nice wrinkles. And some people will understand you. Okay, so what's the plan? I'll do wrinkles on the below the arms and around the arms. Do wrinkles over here overall, the lower part. So we'll start to do exactly that. You have several options here of brushes. I will use the regular brush, but also on on curve, where you control the profile of your brush. I will use this one because it will create a nice pointy surface that will expand later. Okay, this is like, I don't know in real life how to, this is like a felt marker, right? What you're seeing is this part is the one that will touch the surface, and this part is how the um, brush continues. Okay, so something like that, completely straight, is like a marker pen for text, you know. And this one is more like a felt marker. This one is more like a ball pen or a regular marker, and this one is more like a knife. And I will use this because it's more precise. So yeah, go ahead and start to do that. I will start to create little, go little by little. Don't go crazy with huge changes, because then if you got it wrong, you'll have some problems to change that and to revert the change, and maybe you will have to start over again, and yeah, it's not awesome. Don't hesitate to go back to your reference and pick it. Okay, I mean, it's notable how little attention we pay to these kind of things until we need it. And don't worry if you think this is too much. Yeah, it is. It is too much, and I will smooth it later. But right now I'm just doing the base. Okay, I'm just doing the base deformation, and then I will smooth all the traces and try to make it more natural. And as you see, this is what's the name of that? Progressive. Once you draw, once you sculpt one sector, if you keep drawing there, you will add more deformation on that point. It's not like the weight painting, where you paint until the strength of the stroke you set here. No, this is more like a progressive thing, and if you keep insisting on one point, it will really deform the geometry. You can play with mouse. You can play with drawing tablet, as I'm doing right now. Either case, it's kind of easy to do this. So don't be shy, don't be afraid. You can add details here like nipple shadows if you want. You can add the if it's very tight, you can add some bone structure inside, like the rib cage or the clavicles. I mean, you can really go crazy here. Remember, the objective of this is generate a shadow texture. You don't have to calculate or draw manually. Okay, and all this precious detail will be basically a texture after a while. So yeah, so let's check this out. I don't like all this part is way too strong. Maybe that part too. I do like the top part, and the sleeves looks pretty decent. Let's go ahead and smooth. I will use a really low strength to smooth this, because smooth works really it's a strong brush, you know, you can deform really fast the geometry using smooth. So use a tiny force to modify your geometry. Enough to give some nice and pretty look here. Okay, one thing, smooth is not an iron where you can change the details of your revert the details of your deformation if you go too far. Okay, it's not miraculous, so have that in consideration. It's preferably to go go ahead and go in small steps when you deform this, and smooth in small steps too. This is about subtlety. And there's a point where it goes from very cool to way too much, and you just ruin the whole thing and you have to start over. Believe me, I've been there so many times. Oh my god. So yeah, be gentle, be um, subtle. That's the name of the game here, subtlety. And this deformation wouldn't be possible if I wouldn't have such amount of crazy geometry around. I mean, this is possible just because I have a really high poly model. Otherwise, all these subtle shadows or text, I mean wrinkles, won't be visible. Okay, so yeah, you have to sadly do the subdivision trick first. Okay, I'm sorry. Mm, let me see. Let's go back to our reference and look at this, for example. This beautiful girl has a nice S pose to show off the t-shirt. However, that S pose means that her spine is bent to the side, and that creates these um, wrinkles. And also she is holding her hip with a hand, and that creates another wrinkles. What I mean is this particular picture won't work for you at all because the girl with her position and her hands is creating unnatural wrinkles. What we want is more something. Oops, what did I do? Oh, I drag and drop. Okay. What we want is something like this, where she has more or less a straight position, so we can have a better idea where the wrinkles are, right? Or like this. This is great because of the wrinkles under the arm. Now, having consideration that having consideration that these arms here are down and our arms are extended in a T position. So when you create wrinkles for the arm, go in this direction. Okay. What I mean is mind the position of the avatar to create your wrinkles. And remember, the avatar has sides and back part too. Okay, so don't be shy and do wrinkles under the arms also. The more subtle and heterogeneous is the surface of your t-shirt, the more natural it will look. Okay, yes, there's too much point that you will have to try to avoid it. And as you see, I'm also smoothing constantly to avoid this kind of problem. This jagged looking wrinkle here, fold of the cloth, it's because, believe it or not, we don't have enough geometry to make a smooth um, deformation. So eventually, if I pull too much, oh my god, I really hope that the pneumatic hammer of the guys in the construction in the front of my house won't bleed to this tutorial. If it is, I'm so sorry. I'm very so sorry. I probably will start over again later when the guys are gone. Anyway, what I said that is you have to mind the resolution you have on your t-shirt. If you have not a lot of resolution, well, then you will have these jagged shadows that are not optimal. Okay. And remember, the wrinkles, the folds, are all about long lines, lines that goes almost completely around the avatar. Okay. It tends around the breasts, it tends a little bit around the hips. That's depending on how loose the t-shirt it is, but and goes more wrinkly in between because um, up here and down here you have the same amount of fabric than in the middle, but in the middle you have less body basically, so it will wrinkle in the middle, right? If you are doing a character that is has a little bit of body fat or tummy, it may have less wrinkle on the stomach area. Also, have this in consideration. Um, Wrinkles that go from the sides up to the center down, like the ones I'm doing now, are more classic on thin people, and the vice versa, from the sides down to the center up, are more classic and more typical on overweight people. So if you're doing this t-shirt for some character in particular, you have to have that in consideration. All that won't give a lot of detail or won't change fundamentally your t-shirt, but will give that aura of realism that other people may not have. Now, now instead of adding, I will subtract, which means I will push down the geometry around, and this is good to enhance some wrinkles, okay, or some shadows you want to make an accent on those shadows. Well, use this. Use the subtract. See? And I'm using the subtract almost surgically. I'm drawing the lines just below some main wrinkles to make it more obvious. Okay, you can make it more fine, the wrinkles too, that way. You can make them more detailed. And again, for me, in my case in particular, right, you may be Da Vinci, but I'm not. Um, for me, this takes the same amount of time than play with shadows in Photoshop. Actually GIMP, but well, whatever. What I mean is, I don't have any template. I never used any template for making clothes. I don't like to make clothes actually in Photoshop. But drawing the shadows by hand takes me exactly the same amount of time that doing it here like this. And we're done. At least this is the base, right? This is the basic amount of uh, wrinkles I want for my t-shirt. And as you see, it does look pretty good. So what's next? Well, next we will render this as a shadow map for our basic, let me go back to object mode, as a shadow map for my basic t-shirt. This is the low res t-shirt, okay? And as you see, we don't have enough geometry to make all this detail, right? And remember, no, it doesn't matter how much you deform this geometry, the UV map will be exactly the same in both cases. Because you're not moving the UV map from the UV map vertices from its place. So even if you have a gigantic geometry here to make a super duper shadow, the UV map will remain exactly the same. So yeah, what's next? Well, next we will create the shadow map. How do I do that? Exactly the same we proceed to do with ambient occlusion maps. However, in this case, ambient occlusion is not a good idea. And yeah, I will have to edit this video because now I will render the ambient occlusion map for you to see why it's not a good idea. So I will go ahead, enable ambient occlusions with a good amount of samples, with a tiny fall off, and prepare this for ambient occlusion. All these you know all this because you probably did the Texturizing in Blender 101. I did before. If you don't, and you don't know what the hell did I do, just go ahead, check my channel, and check out the map. I'm sorry. Check out the playlist I made for Blender Texturizing 101. Okay. Anyways, I will create a new UV map, and this will be map shadow. OCC. I put OCC because it's occlusion. Okay, it's my abbreviation of occlusion. You put the suffix you want. I will keep it 1024 by 1024, not because this is the shadow map I will export then and import inward, but because this is the one I will work with. So I prefer to have more resolution here. And now I will just bake. And yeah, in spite that for you it will be a cut because this will take forever. Um, for me it will be just forever. See you in a little bit. Alrighty. Well, this pause um, made me, allowed me to check how bad or well did it look, did it hear the sound. and it's not as bad as I thought, so we will continue. And we're done here. So this is the result. And as you see, all our hard work is barely noticeable here. Okay. You may ask, what the hell is this black spot here? And it also goes weird in the geometry. Well, this black spot is the armpit. Okay, these are the limits of the arms, and the armpit continues here downwards like that. So yeah, not good. I will store, just in case, this little map here. I will save it, but I won't probably use it at all. So let me see. I don't think I have the t-shirt. This No, this t-shirt is another t-shirt. So let's create a new directory. Um, Blender clothes t-shirts, and I will store it here. So why it took so long? By the way, that took around 10 minutes for me. Okay, I have a quad core and it's not a very new one, so yeah. But it takes so long because it has a stupid amount of geometry that has to calculate, and also this little map is 1024 by 1024. That, plus the fact that we have in the ambient occlusion 50 samples, makes it really slow. Also makes it really good. So I don't mind to wait 10 minutes to render a map in order to have better looking maps, right? That being said, let's try something different here, because this won't do. Okay, if you go into texture mode, you will see that it's really barely noticeable. When the part that it's more obvious, it's under the arms, which is okay, but all our hard work is not visible at all, and that won't do. So what can we do? Well, instead of an ambient occlusion map, instead of that, what I will do is create some lights and do a nice and cute shadow map, right? So how do I do that? Well, it's just simple. Add lights. I will add, I guess, an enemy. I will start with an enemy. I pressed Alt Z or get into texture, because that way I can see directly how the light affects my model, right? Remember, the enemy lights will only affect the angle, will be affected by the angle. See? So if I go like this, I can see where the angle will hit my t-shirt, and I will choose some angle where the wrinkles are more noticeable. Right, and also I will make this a little less strong. Okay, maybe too much. I don't know. There we go. And that's one. I will do two more lights, I guess, because otherwise the under part and the back part will be completely black, and yeah, not good for clothes. So duplicate, and I will rotate this on the back side. Now I have a better view on both sides, and I will duplicate again, Shift D, and rotate this on the underside. Now, beware of that, because if you put so many lights that in the end you will kill the shadows actually with lights, and you it defeats the purpose of having wrinkles to render, right? Because if you kill the lights, well, it won't be visible. You won't have any wrinkles visible, and that's not awesome at all. Do, 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 do. Yeah, that's better. Lights here are really crucial. Okay, you need to. I will make the lower lights less intense in order to have more than one. I will add one more. There we go, and Shift D. Because this technique really will cast strong lights, strong shadows. So yeah, in this case, you will have to create a good illumination pattern here. Okay. That includes also the sides. Whatever you see here that goes a little bit dark, it will be dark in the render, in the final render. Okay, that includes the sides. For example, this part will be too dark. And to prevent that, I will need to move these a little bit to the center. Alright, so yeah, I have my lights done. What's next? Well, next click again on the t-shirt, otherwise you will try to bake a light and you can't. Yeah, sorry for that. And let's create a new map for this. Again, select all, map shadow, no OCC because this time is not an ambient occlusion. Okay, and this time instead of ambient occlusion I will deactivate that actually. I'll come here and deactivate ambient occlusion and render shadows. Okay, shadow. I will add some more margin. Usually I use 16 pixels. I don't know why it's 2 pixels only. And bake. Okay. I will no. That won't work. There we go. Full render. Full render did the trick. Okay. As you see, the full render made a really detailed map of our t-shirt. I have a really good detail of the wrinkles here, and they are deformed because the projection of our geometry over the UV map, which is okay. The problem are the arms always. The arms will always go a little bit too dark in the back part, in the lower part, which is okay actually. Don't worry about that, because this part is this part here, and normally will be against the arm, against the body. So yeah, so that's our map shadow. I will save this. There we go. And now I can go back to layer number 1 I can select the whole thing again. This is the low poly t-shirt, and I can replace this for my map shadow. See? Low poly, beautifully rendered wrinkles. Don't you love Blender? Really? Don't you? So yeah, we have the perfect map shadow for our t-shirt. Now, we will use this in the final texture when we create the texture. I mean, with whatever we use as a texture, I will use these as I use normally the ambient occlusion map. I mean, as a multiplying layer for the material. But that will come later. Right now, we will go ahead and rig the thing. Okay, so save. And let's call here our outliner. As you see, I didn't delete the lights. I didn't delete the high poly model. I just left it in layer number 2. At this point, change the name. Shirt here and shirt here on the mesh, which is the name that will be pulled on the viewer to name the prim you res in world. Okay, is this name, the mesh name, not the object name. Okay, we have our UV map, which is awesome, and it's time to show the avatar. So let's go ahead, show our avatar. It's white because we are in texture mode. I will change to shade mode. And we need to start to rig these. In order to rig these, and this is a trick. Last time in rigging 101, I wanted to make a mirror and just rig one side of my example, which was a full avatar of River Song of Doctor Who. However, I found a problem that two things. Mirror only works on the x-axis, so this won't work because the mirror should be on y, and only works when the bones, these bones, follows a convention that the avatar workbench don't follow that convention, but it don't follow that convention because it needs to not follow that convention in order to be understood by Open Simulator or Second Life. Okay, what is that convention? Okay, it's really simple. Each bone on left, on right, if you check on the properties panel, the little bone tab, you have the name here. This is M collar right, M shoulder right, M elbow right, and M wrist right. The same with the legs. Right, 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 right. Okay. Also the eye. The convention is not right, but .r or _r. Okay. So let's do a really basic rig here. Let's say you have a rig like that. Right now in Second Life or OS is this is an example, okay? Arm right. This is how it has to be named in order to work. However, Blender in order to automatically do the mirror and all other things needs a convention like m arm dot r or m arm underscore Well, L actually. I'm sorry. Yeah. Um, what can we do? Well, very simple. The setup will be change the name of the bones. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt, but we have to do it in order to make our life easier. Believe me, it's easier to change a bunch of names than do the rigging on both sides. I mean, I don't know you. Maybe for you it's easier to do the rigging. For me, it's easier to change the name. So I will go ahead and change the name like that. And I will change the name from the armature directly in edit mode. We are in edit mode touching the armature. Why? Well, because when I change the name here, it will automatically change the name of all the vertices group, all the vertex groups. There we go. And that's exactly what we need, to have the bones and the vertex groups with the name changed. As you see, I'm not taking a lot of time here. Actually, you could also, I don't know, um, copy this part, .r, and go ahead and replace like this. I mean, thank the gods, um, this little rigging is not that complicated or detailed. I mean, we have a lot of we have bones, but not that much. After we finish the rigging, we have to rechange the name of the bones again, because otherwise we can export that colada, but in Word, the viewer won't take this as a valid rig because it waits for another kind of names, so it won't work basically. Yeah, happy. Right. As you see, it took me less than a minute to change all the names, so yeah, don't whine, it's okay. And also I will rotate these, okay, in Z to make it symmetrical on X, 90 degrees. There we go. Okay, and I will apply the rotation. Oops, I'm sorry. Shift and layer number 1. I'll enter in pose mode. And oops, why is not turning? It should have turned. Okay, that's bizarre. Oh, stupid me. It was, I disabled the edit of my avatar, and that's why I couldn't um, select it to edit it. So yeah, I will turn my avatar to 90 degrees, and I will do the same with my little t-shirt. Rotating Z 90 degrees. There you go. Okay, so now if I enter in edit mode, as you see, my rig didn't change at all. It's the same rig. And notice that I didn't apply the rotation on the avatar itself. I just applied the rotation on my armature, right? And that has a reason, because I don't need the avatar when I export my t-shirt, so I don't need to apply anything on the avatar. I just need the armature. Okay. However, I will apply the rotation here. So what we have here, I just changed the name of everything, I rotate it to make X the symmetrical axis, and also I rotate it in to face positive Y. Okay, and you can check this out by looking here, down here on the left down corner, that you have the Y pointing down like this. Okay, that means the positive, oh sorry, the positive Y goes to the right now. So yeah, okay. Other thing, um, I didn't apply the rotation of the main avatar because first of all I don't need it. I'm sorry, but second I have it like a reminder where it should point for real, the avatar. When I finish the rigging, I will straighten up and go ahead and point it where it should point, and that's positive X. But if I don't apply the rotation of my avatar, I will have here on the uh, end panel the rotation. Okay, if I apply the rotation here, this will go to 0 because that will be the new rest point, sort of speaking. If I rotate back, see, 0. So I know that when I finish, will have to rotate the whole thing to positive X. And this is a good way to remind me how to do it. So, what's now? Well, all that work because now we can go ahead and options, check X mirror and topology mirror, which means that whatever change you do, for example, on this shoulder, it will go to the other shoulder too, without the need to do twice the work. And that works also with single bones like the spine here. Whatever change you do on this side, it will go and do the same change on the other side. So we will have to do half of the work just by changing a couple of bones names. Okay, so right. What's next? Well, I will select my whole avatar, okay, and join the whole thing. Control J. Why did I do that? Well, let me first of all enter in edit mode, tools, and remove doubles, because I will have like 50 vertices doubles. Now it's okay. Uh, why did I do that? Well, because we need, I mean, this t-shirt may be affected by the neck, may be affected by the legs a little bit, may not, but it may. And that means that I will need one model instead of try to rig with 3 different pieces. Okay, I'm just unifying the whole mesh of the avatar in order to transfer the weights correctly. So transfer the weights, huh? Yeah, that's next step. Click the roof, shift, click your t-shirt, enter in weight paint mode, aka control tab, like this. And down here where it says weight tools, you have the beautiful button of transfer weights. Boom, done. You know, in previous blenders you had to depend on a plugin that takes forever to do exactly the same. How do I know that I'm going back to object mode, clicking only the t-shirt? In fact, you know what? I will disable the edit part of my of my avatar, which right now it's just a head, as you see, because I joined the three parts, and go back to pose mode. If I press Control and a bone, oh, sorry, let me enter in pose mode in the armature and go back to weight mode. If I press Control and oh, of course, guys, I just copy the weights, right? Which means that if you go here, you will have all the weights copied. See? However, what happens if I move a bone? Why the t-shirt doesn't move? Well, because I didn't associate the t-shirt with the armature yet. And that happens to me all the freaking time. I have to click here, click the t-shirt, shift, click the armature in object mode, and control P to parent it. Otherwise, it won't be parented. It will have the weights, it will have the vertices group, but it won't respond to the armature. So control P, set parent to object with armature deform. Don't choose with empty groups, don't choose with envelope weights, automatic weights, or whatever. Armature deform. There you go. Now, if you go to the t-shirt, you will see that you have an armature here modifier, which means that now if I move my arm, it will move with the t-shirt too. Yay! Check this out. How awesome is that? See? Ooh. And as a bonus, I could say that Blender does a really, really good job transferring weights. As you see, the deform is minimal. We may need to adjust this a little bit more. However, um, just a little bit, right? See? Looks awesome, right? So, Alt R to return the bones to the default position. And we will start to paint weights here. Control Tab. And now, whatever bone I press with Control, okay, Control click, I will go to that bone and see how the weights are distributed on my t-shirt. Okay, and as you see, we have a lot of work here to do. Because, yeah, we can make this better, definitely better. But that will be next class. So for now, I will save, and I will see you next week. So, recap. What have we done today? We created a really high poly of our t-shirt using the modifier Subdivision. We'll enter in Sculpt Mode and create all the wrinkles. That took me a while. And then using EMI lights, I create a light set around my t-shirt that allowed me an even distribution of light around the model, a high poly model. After I did that, I made a render, okay, full render, a bake full render of this t-shirt, high poly t-shirt. And I create this shadow map, which is beautiful. This shadow map I will use to apply it on my low poly t-shirt. With now it has super realistic shadows all over the place. Then I started to create the rigging by rotating the main armature on X. Change the name of whatever is right as .r and whatever is left .l. I unified the three pieces of my roof avatar to transfer the weight to the t-shirt. I transfer the weight to the t-shirt, I parent the t-shirt to the armature, And also in um, weight mode, I went to Options tab and click X Mirror on Topology Mirror now. So whatever change I do over here, it will be reflected on the other side without my intervention, which will save me a lot of time. Next class we will do really quick the rigging, because this is a really simple piece of cloth. We will create the texture for this, and we are ready to import our first cloth, make from scratch from Blender to InWorld. Um, that was it for today, guys. If you need um, to clarify some points, if you want a further explanation of something, or if you want help for your own projects, I will be live next Sunday, which is 22nd, in Littlefield Grid at OBA Sim. I will post an announcement anyway, where you can log in and ask me questions live, because I will be there. I am using TeamViewer for show the screen of my computer. Also, thank you very much for all the new subscribers, guys. You're awesome. Please comment whatever question you have to you want to do, or commentary you want to do. Um, like this video. I really appreciate if you like the video, and have a nice day. Okay, see you next